All right, starting our third and final panel. Before we do a little bit of networking, have some more fun, I'd like to call the next panelist up to the stage. So we'll start with Jennifer Chen, our head of marketing, who's also a real estate developer. Jennifer. All right, Mark Weithorn, who's president of DPI Showcase Websites. Mark. And author of Mission Matters. Johnny Zhang, founder of Premier Asset Management. And Brian Massey, who's founder of Hilldale Group. Brian. All right, so just to get us kicked off, I guess let's start. We'll kind of go one at a time and maybe a minute or two on what you do and what you're working on. So, Jennifer?
So I'm the director of marketing in Mission Matters, but I'm also the founder of a design and innovation-focused real estate investment development firm, HBCS. We have done so far around like a little less than 100 million in real estate. And I was an architect myself, so some of my interests includes like technology, AI, and how it actually affects the future of architectural design and real estate development and the industry as a whole. But I do have another point to make. Like Garrett on the first panel, I was also the author in one of the first Mission Matters Business Leader book. And then also like Michael, I was, during the pandemic, I was taking a break out of real estate industry. That's where I started to do a lot of design, marketing, and branding. And now somehow with this very interesting technology in real estate that brought me back in to real estate again.
Wonderful. I like to say we stole her from real estate, but you know. Brian, please.
Thank you, Adam. Brian Massey. I have a real estate acquisition and development company called Hilldale Group. I also have a prop tech company called RealSplit that is just now in beta testing stage, and we're about to launch in a couple of months by the end of the year. I've been doing commercial real estate for a long time. Started in the late 90s during the dot-com boom in Seattle, and then expanded from there, worked for a lot of big companies, including a couple of REITs and some large private equity companies. That's how I got my start, and then I formed my own company in 2008, just as the market crashed, and kind of started building from there, which was a good time to build, as it turned out, on the affordable housing front. And then I got into market rate housing in a little later. But right now I have a focus on prop tech. I think it's the future of real estate, and I'm integrating that into my current projects, including a mixed-use redevelopment in Inglewood, California, where we're integrating a lot of the things we'll talk about today into that project, and as well as kind of democratizing real estate, fractionalizing it, democratizing it, bringing in people who maybe otherwise couldn't have been involved in commercial real estate or had an opportunity to do so.
Thank you, Brian. Johnny, please.
Hi, thanks for having me here. My name is Johnny Zhang. I'm a founder of a Premier Asset Management. So Premiers are virtually integrated full-service asset management firm. We do mostly developments, value-add strategies. We manage over a little bit $2 million worth of assets across the board, China and here, mostly here too, the developments. I'm also a founder of USP, tokenized real estate. The same thing as what Brian's doing is democratizing real estate investment, fractionalized real estate. So a security token, and we're launched sometimes early this year. I'll talk about more later. Thank you.
Mark, please.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you for having me here. And Chirag, always throwing a great event. Thank you. My name is Mark Weithorn. I'm the founder and CEO of DPI Showcase Websites. For the past 19 years, we have been creating websites for realtors around the country with a lot of prop tech tools in order to make sure that they are successful. I also teach marketing classes to realtors nationally, and then mostly at the Miami Association of Realtors. Some of the classes are like surviving the first 6 months as a realtor, which is really a lot of fun. And then most importantly, I'm a Mission Matters author. Thank you.
Thank you for that one, Mark. So Jennifer, we'll start with you. So AI, real estate, prop tech, what are you seeing in terms of innovation right now? What interests you?
Recently, I got involved in two different ones. One is AI in construction. So it's this modular system that can be calculated by AI that to reduce how many different modules you need to building up the property. So it's on saving the construction cost side of it. So for example, I think most people here knows who Frank Gehry is, the famous architect behind Disney Hall in downtown LA. So most of his designs are with like curved facade, or is actually a very irregular shape. So Gehry technology has this this technology they do to break up the curved facade into like smaller, different repeating modules or panels to make it possible to, when you assemble it together, to form that irregular shape. So when AI comes into play for this, it has this crazy brain power to actually significantly reduce how many different modules you need for the same design. So this AI that actually specifically trained for real estate construction reduced the 16 different modules came up by Gehry technology to only 5. So when you're thinking about production, when the less the different modules you need, definitely the more cost saving for construction. And another one that's very interesting is AI in architecture. So where you can input the local building code and your initial design concept into this AI that's trained for architectural design, it will very quickly come up with several design layouts that actually already comply with the building code. So it could be a great solution, AI solution for the architecture firms. It saves a lot of time for architects, and all they need to do is to pick one that makes the most design and economic sense, and then develop it further from there. So that's the most, the recent ones that actually most interest me and pull me back to this real estate industry.
Anyone else want to jump on that one? Like, what are you seeing right now in technology or prop tech that's interesting?
Sure, I can talk. So the challenge these days is I work with a lot of realtors, and realtors are not tech people. It's that right brain, left brain thing, you know? And they like to talk on the phone with people. They like to show houses and stuff like that, but they have trouble checking emails and stuff like that. And what I find is a lot of programmers like to program, and they create these really complex tools that they think that realtors are going to use, and then the reality is they don't use them. When we create programs in our system, the first question we ask is, how can we automate this? So this way the realtor doesn't have to worry about, well, what button do I push, and do I push it 3 times a day or 4 times a day, and how do I do this? And those are the type of tools that people need in order to succeed in real estate. They're salespeople, they're not tech people. I gave a talk in LA once in front of a lot of programmers, and the topic was the KISS method. Keep IT systems simple. And I said, stop changing things, you know, like don't move the buttons and stuff. And the looks that I got were like, whoa. I said, you want to work on something, improve emails, you know, but the trick is to keep things simple so salespeople can go out and sell and not worry about programming.
So,
Sure. So we're being using AI softwares for analytics, copywriting right now. We're firing all copywriters who use AI to write them. And there are lead gen automations. You can use that to do lead gen through LinkedIn. We're doing use that a lot. And we're also using the augmented reality. So those are helping the showcasing the property, visualization for the buyer attendance. And then of course blockchain, right? Make real estate more secure, transaction easier and more transparency, and they're making more affordable, accessible. So that's a lot of technology we're implementing ourselves, and we're seeing those technology getting better and better. So yeah.
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, there's so many amazing innovations that PropTech is going to create for the real estate industry, which is a traditional industry that is being turned upside down by technology. We've seen this happen in other industries. For example, e-commerce changed the way we shop, and fintech changed the way that we looked at finance. And now PropTech is changing the way we look at the innovation and adoption and future of real estate, not just investment, but the way that we use real estate, from artificial intelligence, streamlining the process of every facet of real estate, from the sourcing of real estate to the acquisition, to the asset management, to the disposition, even the way we live in our homes through the Internet of Things. It's changing the way that we, that we use real estate, that we invest in real estate, that we participate in our community. And so you have machine learning, for example, that is creating the aggregation of big data, which is a game changer for real estate, because there's so much information traditionally in the real estate industry that it's overwhelming. And now through algorithms that are being created through automation and digitalization, and everything's being digitalized, you're seeing a tremendous consolidation, aggregation of data that is being utilized through everything from residential real estate, commercial real estate, and beyond. So I really see there's a huge demand, and we're just at the infancy of this. We're really just getting started.
Let's talk disruption. So we hear that word a lot, and we think about the real estate industry as a whole. Maybe traditionally has moved pretty slowly, like maybe some other fields like healthcare, medical, other things that maybe all of us have over the last couple of years had to move a little bit faster. I guess I'll start with you, Jennifer. Design. So let's talk design. So AI, is it taking all the jobs? Are there limitations in design? Are all architects going to be out of work? I mean, talk to us about design.
I think when AI started to be part of everybody's life, like used for writing, used for travel, to search tickets, like all kind of stuff, and it's actually across all industries. That's how AI been interrupting. I think, although they can do a lot of things like more accurately, more efficiently, but I think the key element down there is it still rely on people to do the initial concept input, whether you're trying to generate results or you want to train the AI to be a professional in a specific field. So that's what AI cannot do right now. It's like how we think our thoughts, like how we create the initial concepts. Those are the things for now, that AI can't replace it until it's become conscious, if it will. That's another conversation. There's a lot of discussions, so a lot there. But I think it really leads people to think, what's our value as human being? When AI is being this broadly used in all different areas in our lives.
Anyone else? Limitations or otherwise?
Sure. So, was it 6 months ago, LA Tech Week? Yeah, about that. We spoke about AI. And, we said, well, it's just starting and it's not really there yet. And then I've been taking a lot of classes and listening to a lot of people talk about AI. And what I found, especially with realtors, is they just don't know how to use it. For example, I was at the Florida Association of Realtors conference, and they had an AI class, and the moderator brought this realtor up, and they said, let's do your resume. And she had to pulling teeth out of this woman, 6 or 7 different prompts about her in order to get something about her. And the reality is that the average person just can't do that. They don't know how to do that. We're also having other issues with AI right now, which are copyright laws. Who owns the photographs? And who owns the listings? And right now, those things have to get through the courts in order for AI to be productive in the real estate field. So, but I always get back to the same thing when I teach realtors, which is sales are people talking to people. You pick up the phone, you call someone. Someone's birthday, you pick up the phone, you call them. You meet them, you talk to them, you make friends, you have coffee. AI can't do that. It's sales are people talking to people. Yeah, we have new technology, like you can text someone, great. but it's still people with people.
It's interesting you say that because I would agree with you a few years ago. But now I've seen some of the AI that is out there and it's unbelievable. I mean, it really is. The way that it interacts and it learns and it communicates is beyond what we probably comprehend it can do right now because it's still being rolled out and most people aren't aware of some of the AI that's out there. But I can tell you as a sales tool, as a customer service resource, it is going to be a game changer by making it more efficient, more productive, and more profitable for businesses by decreasing the amount of humans that have to be involved. I mean, I hate to say it, but it is going to take some jobs away, but it will also create efficiency, and like every technology that has created more efficiency, eventually we will prosper as a result of that, and the industry will prosper, in my opinion.
I'll add to it. So I've seen AI tools where they can make your digital version of yourself and actually can make phone calls for you. It's not there yet. It's still bugs, and why I even use AI to write my copywriting. Still a lot of stupid things that AI is not as smart as I think they should be. But it takes a lot of training. So I'll say the limitation of AI is it doesn't have enough training. It needs more data, it needs more training, and it does not have. Right now we don't have enough data centers. We don't have enough GPUs. NVIDIA is like literally 3 years out. You can't buy more chips from them anymore. So basically, you cannot build more data centers. You cannot give them enough training. That's one of the limitations of AI. It's not going to grow fast enough until we can solve the supply chain issue. And the Taiwan semiconductors kind of like 5 years out on their capacities. So.
Yeah, that's like what I agree, because that's what I mean. Like, is you still need people to train them. Like for you to be able to use them, you have to train them really well, and that's where like it takes a lot of effort now to be able to achieve that.
And very, very costly.
Yeah,
to
very, very
computing
costly.
powers.
Yeah.
All right, so the next piece of this, I kind of want to tee it up because there's a lot of different ways we can slice this one. But when we think about from traditional real estate and also the technologies and the prop tech that will support current real estate and current real estate endeavors, whether it's the profitability of a property or otherwise. So we can take that conversation from a couple different ways. We can say as an investor investing into a tech company that is in the real estate side of things. We can take it from maybe the syndicator out there that's thinking about how this plays into their world. So I guess just to start the conversation, how should, and just to kind of sum it up, how should investors think about opportunities when they're being approached when it is a traditional real estate deal, but it has some other prop tech or other, let's just say, component to it? So let's start there.
To me, how I look at it when it's technology in real estate, I think for now it's still very heavily on how the technology can help the actual real estate to be more profitable. Is either lowering the costs, like design costs, construction costs, operating costs, or generating more revenue by some softwares that can manage more efficiently, etc. So it still has to have actual numbers, versus when you just investing in pure like tech startup, like especially at the early stage, like sometimes like a sexy story or concept is already can draw some investors in. But real estate, actual numbers has to work.
I agree. I mean, absolutely, you have to start with the numbers, and the numbers have to make sense. That's the fundamental of any investment, right? But artificial intelligence and machine learning is expediting that. It's making it faster, and it's aggregating a lot of data. So real estate is heavily data-driven. When you're able to process it faster and relay that information in a succinct way to the end user, to the investor, or to the to even tenants living in an apartment building. If they're maintenance, maybe they have the Internet of Things and they have smart appliances in their home that will be predictive maintenance, as opposed to and it's going to save a lot of money and make things more efficient for owners and operators of properties because of the way that this information is being processed, the manner it's being relayed, and then eventually let's face it, machines are going to learn from machines, and it's going to be self-promoting in that sense.
I also own an investment bank on the side, so I look at a lot of startups, and I will separate them, right? So one's a real estate company, a syndicator want to raise money for their real estate, they use prop technology to make their real estate investment more efficient, more profitable, or is a prop tech company, they're focused on technologies, and then they just have real estate component to it. I kind of hate when I see a prop tech company say, oh, I'm buying real estate too. I'm like, well, are you a real estate company or a tech company, right? It's not the same thing. So looking at the real estate syndicators who has embraced their prop tech technology to make their investments more efficient, better returns, that's where I'm looking at it. Ultimately, you have to look at the numbers. Does this technology really help reduce your expenses, increase your profitability, right? So it's really about the utilities. It doesn't matter how fancy AI sounds like or any other technology sounds like, you have to translate the numbers, right? So after we have to look at the numbers.
So right now we're in the middle of building AI products to help realtors be better salespeople. And each of these products are basically have specific tasks. Like there's something called the CRM, Customer Relationship Management Program. And we instituted some AI systems into our CRM, which helps the realtor stay in touch with their clients, because they don't want to, run into them a few years from now at a supermarket and they go, oh, there you are, I didn't know you were still in business, I put my house up for sale, So we're doing things like that. We're working on another product right now. It has to, I can't say what it has to do with, sorry. But we're going to be launching that in about another month. And it's going to compete with some of the things that Zillow is doing incorrectly. And then we're also going to go into creating some other AI features in our system, which has to help in how you search for properties. So what we're doing with AI is we're not relying on the realtor to figure out how to use it. We're using it to give them tools where they are communicating better with their clients, and they just have to answer their phone.
No, please go ahead.
All right, Johnny, I want to kind of circle back to you because I think you have a unique perspective. So I want to take that same question, but from the other side of the coin, because you sit in a unique spot because you're both on the real estate side and the investment banking side. So speaking specifically to the founders out there that are tech founders, maybe I won't say confused, but I mean, like what you said, they may be kind of half and half, and they're figuring it out. Like, what kind of things would you tell them in terms of clarity in their mission when it comes to raising capital?
So really, when you have a startup, right, you are trying to solve a problem, right? So there's a problem really need to be solved, right? There's really a problem, or you think there's a problem, but there's really no demand out there. So you have the first thing: what kind of problem you're addressing? What can you make people's life better, right? So if you don't address that, that's like the whole company's mission is kind of useless. So, right, you have to look at literally the utility of the company, and what do you really solve the problem. Then next thing is the obvious attraction. So once you build the products, do you have people really use it? You have to demonstrate that, you have to show attraction. If people really have that demand, have that problem, they really use your product to solve their problems. Like, or Mark says, hey, that's great, but most realtors don't know how to use it. If you build a software that you think is great for realtors, they don't know how to use it, not going to buy your products, then there's no commercial attractions at all. Then it's not a good product, right? So we don't really invest in angel round. We just look at the company where they're generating revenues. We want to look at the products if it's really good, user friendly, and then they're already generating revenues. That's a look at it.
Anyone else want to tackle that, just from the investor side?
So 2 months ago, I was at the Fontainebleau, lovely hotel here in Miami Beach, and they had a tech conference. National Association of Realtors put it on. At the end, they had this little fun thing. It was like a throwdown. They had like 10 different startups come up, and they had a panel of 4 people up there who were like, it was like Shark Tank, and and out of about 10 different startups, 8 of them were dogs. I was like, I don't get it. Where did they come up with this idea? And are people really investing in this? There were 2 that were actually pretty decent. So I understand some of the VC people, they'll put some money in because, God forbid, it's the next Facebook, and they didn't do that, right? But there's a lot of stuff out there that just doesn't make sense, and I scratch my head.
I want to relate to what Johnny said, like you solve a real problem. Like the problem that Garrett was discussing in the first panel, talking about the shortage of contractors and stuff. So this modular prefab units can solve that problem. I know a lot of people probably heard of that in California, but those are panelized prefab. So which means they still need contractors to be there to install the panels together, to put out everything. So there's still a lot of manpower actually needed. But if you put this prefab like module unit, which is actually everything already built in, you just literally kind of do that how you do Lego, and you just put it together and connect all the paths, the MEP. That will make it way more faster, which is you save your carry costs on financing for construction, and also you can put it on the market earlier to collect rent. So that could be a good part for how the technology actually can solve this problem. And but I mean, California is really hard on certification for if an inspector cannot open up what's inside of it. So that's just the challenge right now for that team there. For like they need to go through this entire certification process for each component. So the inspectors can just go on there, look at the serial number, and they're done. Yeah.
I think you're making a great point. I mean, I think the term now is ConTech, construction technology, right?
Yeah.
So what is PropTech, right? It's the synergy of technology and real estate. Much like FinTech was the synergy of finance and real estate, and now construction and technology have now, finance and technology, and now construction and technology. And it really, you're blending all of those together now with the new technologies that are coming out with AI, and it's also making it more efficient, more productive, more profitable, but there is a learning curve. There definitely is an adoption phase, and adoption is one of the issues of PropTech, is who's going to adopt it, how quickly can we adopt it, and how much does it cost to adopt? Because let's face it, real estate is an old industry. It's the largest industry, I believe, in the world. It's 10 trillion plus now, and not everyone's going to adopt it or adapt to it as quickly as others. So there's going to definitely be a learning curve, and and those who adopt it faster and use it better are probably going to be the winners in this in the end. Construction is a great example of that, because if you can become more efficient, I'm building a project right now, for example, in Inglewood. It's a 135,000 square foot adaptive reuse project. It was an old medical office building in the heart of Inglewood, and then I'm converting it overlooks SoFi Stadium. And I've gutted it out, and I'm trying to integrate all of this new technology into it, which is great, except my general contractor isn't necessarily on board with that. So it's definitely a learning curve.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, so I have one more question for the panel, and then I'm going to open it up so that everyone else can get involved. So get your questions ready. So I do want to go a step further in what you were saying. So the adoption side of things. So any interesting trends or things when it comes to the asset management side of it, whether it's in multifamily development or otherwise, that you're seeing? All right, and for the panel, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Asset management is, again, big data is changing the way we manage properties, because you're aggregating all this information and you're utilizing that by allowing your asset management team access to that data, and then how they use it and apply it, of course, is the most important part. So there is, you have to teach them how to use it, but once they have that information, they're able to go out and ideally make property management more efficient through, as I mentioned before, predictive maintenance is one example of that. Maintenance is a large cost in asset management and property management as well. And overseeing the property managers as an asset manager, which I've been an asset manager for years, and I can tell you that managing property managers is a challenging business, because they are, there's a lot of mom and pop property managers out there who don't understand technology at all. They're still using paper. They're not even digitalized yet. So giving them the tools is the most important part, and then teaching them how to use those tools efficiently to make it more profitable. Because when you're underwriting a deal and you're looking at it from a financial standpoint, and then you have to actually execute on that pro forma and make sure that all the numbers are lining up and working correctly, the new technologies that are coming out, all the tools that are coming out, ideally will, eventually make that pro forma more efficient, but there's still a human factor where you do have to teach them how to use the tools you're giving them.
Yeah, I agree with you. I also own a portfolio company myself, just for my in-house properties, and they're because I couldn't teach my other property manager to use the tools I want them to use, and it's really slow on them to learn those tools. So I decided to just take that in-house, do it myself. So real estate is a dinosaur industry. It's kind of really old, and it's growing really slowly. What I do see more adoption in the prop tech is like the sustainable energy efficiency technology. The smart homes being used in a lot of new constructions. You can save more energy, in terms of reduce cost. I think that has more use cases right now. You can see a lot of new buildings coming up, like green roofs, green materials. Those kind of new technologies helping, and there are a lot of builders, and they're, I want to just save money long term, right? And they're blockchain as well. So blockchain, and I'm involved in, because I created this company called the United States Property Coin, is allowing people to buy real estate ownership, being a professional landlord, starting with $1 or less, right? So you can buy anywhere in the world, 24/7, self-custody, all that kind of benefit on blockchain, but apply to the real estate ownership use cases.
I love that you mentioned environmental use, because there's a term, in prop tech, it's ESG values. So environmental, social, and governance. So environmental is a great use for technology and property management and asset management, because it makes your properties greener. You're decreasing your building footprint and your carbon emissions from buildings by making your properties more efficient from an energy usage standpoint. And also from a social standpoint, from a social value standpoint, the people who live in your communities or office in your communities, or self-storage units, rent them from you, they're all going to benefit from that in the long term, because it is a more efficient system where you will be able to monitor the energy usage from your properties more efficiently and fine-tune them to ensure profitability.
So, you guys are amazing. I mean, what you're doing is like top notch there. Thank you. I still deal with the weak link in this whole thing, which is the human element. I still deal with realtors, salespeople who, they're not tech people. They just want to go out and sell. Just get my phone to ring, help me follow up, things like that. And that's why what I do is I automate. There's a lot of different definitions to AI. Some people think, like Skynet, artificial intelligence, things like that. But there's a lot of different things. Like at the last one we had, I had a question: is auto driving in your Tesla, is that AI? And we had a little debate on whether that's AI or is that just really good programming. So I think that AI has different levels, and some of it is in automation, and that's what we're trying to do, or what we are doing, is trying to make it more efficient for our ordinary people, our salespeople, to be more effective.
I just want to add a little bit to the asset management point, because it just reminds me of a story that happened when I was asking one of the suppliers for the digital locks as part of the smart home. And I was like, okay, my question is, I have 300 units in the building. How are you going to replace the battery for the digital lock? That's just very simple thing. And they were like, oh, we're gonna have people come in, check, and probably replace it 3 months. So I'm like, so we're gonna replace all the batteries actually still working and the battery's dead. They're like, yes. So there's just like crazy waste for the batteries. And I asked another contractor, and they're like, we have this technology can actually wear through the door frame, wire, so it's actually connected to a permanent power, so it will never go out of battery. But they're gonna like double the cost of that door. So that's what I'm saying, like for when you really like apply all this technology into daily life, they're just like always like some little this problems that actually prevent it from moving on. Because I think real estate stays so traditional, not only because like we don't want to move forward, it's also just like that's our daily life. It just, there's so many little points in there that just we have to make it perfect in order for everybody to adapt to it.
Oh, I agree, but I also think that other industries have gone through this process in the past, and real estate just took longer to get there because it is a more traditional industry. That I think you've seen this adoption occur faster, or not maybe faster, but previously in other industries like e-commerce, for example, even before that, the internet. I mean, people didn't know how to use the internet. My mother still doesn't know how to use the internet. I mean, she's still learning how to take technology and adopt it to her daily life. And now with real estate, I think you're seeing that in real time, but there is going to be an exponential effect, I believe. I think it's going to catch up to other industries that have already embraced technology.
Good night. Thank you. Thanks. There's a reason why real estate's taken a long time. I mean, the bureaucracy in real estate is immense. For example, who holds the records of who owns what properties? It's your local municipality, your local county. They own it. It is so fragmented. It's all over the place. And they are not going to relinquish this so easily to blockchain technology. They're just not doing it. It's in their database, it's the W-2, and they're going to keep it that way until who knows when. So yeah, go fight that. There's another thing that's going on right now which has to do with realtors and commissions. There's a lawsuit going on with the National Association of Realtors and the Sherman Antitrust Act. Google it. I'm not going to go into it now because I think we have to go to dinner soon, right? But basically, that's a hierarchy there as to who owns the multiple listing systems, who owns the listings. Realtors have to work under brokers. So there's all these rules and regulations when it comes to real estate. So trying to modernize it or bringing up to speed is a lot of hoops and a lot of red tape to jump through.
You're absolutely right. And I think also two things we want to touch on with PropTech is transparency and access as well. So transparency has been something the real estate industry has not been very good at. A lot of the information is opaque, not everyone understands it. If you're not a professional real estate investor, if you look at a financial model for a commercial piece of real estate, you probably wouldn't understand it. You may not have access to even sourcing deals or having the financial wherewithal to be able to move forward if you find a commercial piece of real estate or even a residential one that you may want to acquire. So having PropTech in place now is giving transparency to transactions and access to people who otherwise may not have been able to invest in commercial real estate. So that's another use case I think that's really important to touch on for property technology.
All right, let's open this up to the audience. Questions?
I actually have a comment. I want to piggyback to Garrett's. Not only that the information is not really available to the general public, and also the real estate data is monopolized, by some industry, some NAR, and then all the title information monopolized by all the title company. So the general public like us cannot get the real information, the genuine information very easily. So for residential or for commercial, thank God for Zillow, they have a lot of information for the general public, and CoStar or LoopNet, Crixie, all those commercial PropTech company.
Wow, so there's a lot there to unpack. First of all, the problem with Zillow is it's not accurate. And the problem for realtors is they have to defend themselves against the information coming out from Zillow. For example, they have something called Zestimates, which tell you what your home is worth. Fun fact, 27% of the Zestimates are accurate, but people believe it. That's one of the AI tools are coming out with to try and combat that. Right now, with this lawsuit that's going on, the National Association of Realtors is going to have to prove their worth as to why they exist. And there's a lot going in there, and we're recording right now, so I'm not going to talk about that. So you're going to see some changes that are going to happen in the industry.
I think you gave a couple of great examples. Zillow is a great example of prop tech that everybody knows and everybody's probably used, and it's become widely adopted by your average consumer. Take that and then expand it and fast forward a few years, and there's going to be many, many more vehicles and tools available to your average consumer that will make access to data and information much more readily available. And that is going to change the way that real estate investors think about real estate. It will change the way that management companies manage real estate and how people use real estate in their everyday lives, how they live in an apartment or rent a self-storage unit, right? So that transparency and access, in my mind, is one of the biggest game changers that PropTech will fulfill over time. It will be time, though. It will take time to adopt. But I will say that it's happening faster than we probably all suspect. And I'll give you an example. I'm doing a fractionalized real estate platform right now. It's called RealSplit, and we are essentially democratizing how real estate is owned and managed. And if you're an average consumer and you've never bought a piece of commercial real estate before, maybe you don't have the financial resources typically, and you don't really understand it, this is going to create a data room of all the information that you can go in. You can do your own due diligence, you can do your own underwriting, or you can have the experts within the company do it for you, and typically those deals are going to be vetted, they're going to be put on the platform, and then you have an opportunity to digest all that information to decide whether you want to invest in it or not, and how much you want to invest. And that will essentially create transparency that doesn't currently exist, especially in the CRE industry, for your retail investor, for your average consumer. And that's going to be very important, I think, as we move forward. Blockchain technology, which I know became kind of this strange concept during the crypto boom, but the reality is blockchain is not about cryptocurrency. Blockchain is about a general ledger to track ownership and transparency of information. And blockchain is here to stay. And so blockchain is going to revolutionize the way that title companies work, insurance companies work, because it will create that transparency where everybody can see. There's no denying if you own a piece of property or a fractionalized piece of property, because it will live in perpetuity on the blockchain. So there's, access and transparency are really, in my opinion, big factors in why PropTech is going to be a game changer for real estate.
All right, maybe we have time for one or two more before we wrap up.
Thank you for all the knowledge. I think two things are coming to my mind. One is trust. Trusting AI with your largest investment, whether you're the owner, whether it's residential and you're buying a home, it's like, so a robot put this prefab home together. What if somebody's hacked into the computer? What if there was a miscalculation on the amount of cement? What if, like, I still see the need for humans to go in, at least, this is a good thing for humans working with, to inspect everything and make sure that there's still quality control, because there's so much liability in real estate, especially for brokers. There's so many lawsuits. Financially, disclosures, that's one of our biggest gridlocks. And then the other thing is, I hope you guys can do this, is, they have all these different real estate MLSs and boards that don't share data. And it's retarded, because I get my clients sending me stuff on Zillow, and then I go to my MLS to look up the information, and I can't get anything because they're not sharing. Bakersfield isn't sharing with LA, and neither is Antelope Valley, and neither is Ventura. So I have to try to beg these other boards, unless I want to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to join every board for one potential deal, which I don't want to. So hopefully you guys can consider that. But my question is liability. Who's going to be liable when it's a computer AI that's fabricating or generating the financial data? Like, who's liable if it's wrong?
Yeah, the lawyers have to figure this out. Where's our attorney in the room? Where'd he go? Yeah, there's a lot to unpack with this. And it goes down to, like I said before, simple things like who owns the photographs. There was a lawsuit where I think it was Getty Images sued one of the AI companies because they basically scanned all their photos. And then there was another issue, it has nothing to do with real estate. Alphabet wanted to scan all the books. In case the bomb hits, let's get it all down. And all these living authors said, well, wait a minute, you're scanning my copyright work, who owns it? What are you gonna do with it? So there's a lot we have to work through here. And then there's the ownership of the listings. Like you said, I'm from Florida. We have about 50 different MLSs. Some of them share, some of them don't. And it's a bureaucracy, and it's going to take a long time to figure out or for it to work its way through, and it may not work its way through.
All right, last question, and then.
Cool. More practical question here to Brian. You said you had adaptive reuse, 100,000 plus square foot in Inglewood project you have going?
Yes.
So, and then you have to basically update it. If there's some technology you need to put in there to bring it current. And I was just on the phone recently to the chief of staff to Delos, and they have their Building Institute and well certified program. They do their wellness overlay for light, water, air, space to optimize environments for human wellness, right? And they're all over the world in every continent. And it's becoming more of a common programming that you're putting into the standard for development or any kind of real estate project. And I just wondered, on a practical level, what are you facing with just cost-effective updates, bringing things current in terms of the tech side of that project, and what it needs to be? Sure,
great question. So in my case, I took an old medical office building, 135,000 square foot, that was built in 1961. Mm-hmm. And this is the second tallest building in Inglewood, the municipal building being the tallest. And so this was built before LAX was there. And I completely gutted it. I took it down to the bare concrete and steel. So I started over again, and I had to rethink the project and think, what do people want today? Like, what technology is not only affordable to integrate into the project, but what will people actually utilize and what will help my my management of this property long term, my maintenance of the property long term, the usability of it, the user interface, if you will, the end user living. Well, I'll tell you what it is first. It's a 65 live-work lofts, a 20,000 square foot assembly space on the roof overlooking the new stadium, SoFi, and the Forum. And so we have hospitality use as well, where we have a restaurant, a coffee shop, and a bar that will be feeding from the stadium complexes in all the things that are happening in Inglewood. So what technology can I integrate into a project like that that will be affordable and meet my budget, of course, but also will have a real world use case where people won't be intimidated by it. So I started from scratch. I hired a technology expert, if you will, to go in and completely think through from top to bottom everything that we would be doing there. So I think it really has to start with, what are your goals? And then how can technology help you achieve those goals? And what technology is readily available and affordable today that will also hopefully have a long shelf life, that isn't going to be out of date in a year or two like you see with some technology. So I think it has to have a practical application in development and even adaptive reuse projects where people will embrace it, use it. I'll give you an example. So we don't want people to necessarily have to take their wallets out of their pocket. We want them to be able to use their phone for payments, Venmo, Apple Pay, all, PayPal, all the rest of it. But also they will have key fob or a wristband if you live there, and you will have an account, so you can just swipe your wristband. It will also open your door. It will also, tap into your stereo system in your house and your everything else. So you can, if you want to go to the pool and have a drink at the pool, you won't ever have to use cash. We're trying to make a cashless system, basically. That's one example. We're also putting a Bitcoin machine, an ATM machine in the property. So if people want to use cryptocurrency, they can readily use it. But of course, we're going to immediately convert it from crypto to US dollars instantaneously through those transactions. So we're not going to hold the crypto, but we will allow people to pay with crypto, as an example. So, also smart appliances, predictive maintenance. As I said, we want our maintenance staff to have a seamless experience with all of the new tools that we're in, and machinery and appliances that we're integrating into the space. And that also goes all the way to our power source, our elevators, the way we run all of our low voltage systems throughout the building that can be all automated through your phone and Bluetooth. Yeah. So it's really a holistic approach to it, I think, is the reality.
I appreciate the feedback. Thanks.
Of course.
All right, let's thank our panelists, and I'm going to call Chirag up for some final words. Chirag,